Warhammer from the car. Once again, hey, we're talking 11th edition and what that entails. We saw I don't know if you watched it. I watched parts of each of the 3 games they did after the Dallas Open. Pretty interesting. Good to see some good players playing the new rules. I guess the first thought, which I'm surprised I haven't thought of this, being a Raven Guard player, is basically our 2 detachments. The detachment rule is kind of like you got 1 instead of the 2, because what was it? Outside of 12 inches, -1 to hit, and the benefited cover, which are essentially the same thing now in 11th edition. So maybe they'll give us something, or maybe they'll make those 1-point detachments. That's the only thing I can see. Either you point those detachments outright, or you readjust the rule set there, the detachment rule itself. I mean, I could go either way on that, because if you had a 1-point detachment and then you can tie it with a couple other detachments, you can make a pretty strong army. But if they redo it and they give us something like, okay, benefited cover outside of 12 or something, which, okay, and then maybe -1 BS, something where you can stack it, that would be cool. That would be awesome. But you know, I'm not. That's a hope and a prayer, essentially. Anyway, the game. What I noticed, right? One, yeah, you can hide people a lot easier. The terrain layouts, having the objectives as terrain features, which is cool. I like him. Being able to deploy out a little bit better throughout the board. Seems like it's going to be more interactive. Seems like melee is going to, well, I don't know, because if you shoot within a terrain feature, apparently you can detect them or some crap like that. That seems interesting. The melee thing is what got me. Okay, so you get into melee, your fights first unit. So if a Raven Guard player, it doesn't really matter because you don't really have fights first outside of charging, which stays the same. So you go in there and you have, like, let's say you're playing Dark Angel, you got the Lion, right? Fights first. Well, it's no longer like, bam, he can just like start ripping into people. It pretty much just gives you a form of interrupt, right? So you can play around the fights first characters now. So like the Justiciar, Lion, which I guess you could put Justiciar in a Raven Guard army. But anyway, so he gets in there. It's like essentially just an interrupt, a free interrupt, which, hey, that's good too, but it's not as powerful. Maybe points will adjust accordingly within the units. Hopefully that's the case. But so you can use that, because if you charge in and they have a Lion, you charge in the Lion or something like that as fights first, you still pick like where the opportunity is for your fights first. So your unit that charged, its fights first now is preeminent, you go first. And then they could say, well, I'm going to use my fights first, and they can just kind of interrupt, I guess. That's the way I gather. Or otherwise you just keep going. So I mean, it's an interrupt essentially. And no longer really fights first ahead of everybody. So that was an interesting rules change that will be effectual on a number of units. But I think for a Raven Guard, it only had access to that through, and even Custodes who only had access to fights first. Well, they didn't have it. They don't have it, but Raven Guard has it through the Justiciar, if I can even pronounce his name. But you know what I'm talking about. That dude. Now going into those armies with the fights first, it helps us out a little bit, like especially from the Custodes perspective, which why they don't have fights first, I don't know, because they're supposed to be the fastest badasses in the Imperium, but they don't. So now, once again, another bonus to them going in the other melee armies that have fights first, because you can really go in there and most armies only take like 1 fights first unit, and you go in there and you take that dude, smoke him, and then you keep going. But anyway, regardless, other thing is I don't know, it's more complex, but I liked was that kind of the missions were tailored around how you built your army, or you built your army around the primary mission, and then that what your like force disposition is relates to the other one. That gives you like kind of tells you how the battle is going to be set up. So that was cool. I liked it. The secondary missions what I did like about that, I can't remember there's a couple of them that remind me of some of the old ones, where it's like if you're a Raven Guard player, it's really good because you can go to 6 inches of the side of the board, or pop up in the back lines and have an enemy behind enemy lines, or there's some, or with the cover thing, getting guys in the center and or taking objectives just seems good. It seems good, so I like that. And then I look at, especially from the Raven Guard's perspective, with the new unit, with the new Vanguard unit, Vanguard veteran unit that's come out, I see that and I'm like, all right, now we got something going on here. You pair that into that army with Cave-in Shrike. You got Aethan, you're starting to get an army. And here's another thing. So the new Bolter Eradicators in a Raven Guard detachment, being able to uppy downy them. Not only that, but being able to, which obviously Ultramarines you start putting them, but with one of those detachments like Spearhead with Ventress. Well, we're sticking with the Raven Guard. So being able to uppy downy them, being able to use the strat that gives them an extra BS, then also an extra AP. You start throwing them out there. They have a 36-inch range into other infantry units with blast and all and that jazz. Next thing you know, they're a formidable little unit that you can pop around, and we'll see what the points come out on that. So that, and the way the board's set up, you might be able to do some damage popping them up and down. Now, is it still as effectual as like I was just talking about Eradicators, like what is it? Freaking the guy you attach biologist to. I haven't played in a little bit, so aggressors. If you put them on aggressors and throw them out there, or put them, which you get an AP at close range. So now you got an AP1 gun now, which matters since cover doesn't improve the save, which negates pretty much an AP. There's an interesting combos coming. Here's the other thing. Okay, last thing, because we're already at 7 minutes. Last thing is indirect fire. Indirect fire to me now looks like kind of like fire. I know they changed it up, rolling on 6s, all that jazz. That kind of sucks, right? But you can spot those units now, and they roll on 4s, and now you don't take away the AP. So you're talking about whirlwinds hitting on whatever 4s, wounding on, depending on if they're oath or whatever, let's say average infantry unit, wounding on 3s, maybe 2 against other Space Marines. Then you got AP 2 damage. That sounds good. That sounds real good. So you have whirlwinds with an oath of movement target, firing on a unit that you have like a scout squad or something up there, infiltrated or whatever, eliminators. They see a unit, bam, hitting on 4s, re-rolling, then the wound roll. So now whirlwinds, they're probably going to be in a list. All right, so that's it. 11th coming down the pike, looking pretty spicy. I'm just, what's nonsensical to me is right now is the detachment points. Like some of those detachments are a total of 3 points. The regular ones, I was like, what? And then the new ones are 1 point, and I'm sitting here like, what in the world are we doing? Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll see what the verdict is as we go further on. But very excited, very excited.